Shout out this game for teaching me about hip firing. I'm not gonna lie to you,
Dude. I love hip firing, man.
when you talk to me about how you I only hip fire in the division. I was like, you're fucking weird.
I didn't say. First off, I didn't say I only hit fire. I just say I hit fire a lot, but because
Yeah,
I think we forget that for a long time, shooting games did not have the aim button. There was no
right.
aiming down the sights. That's somewhat new. 10, 15 years, but for a while there was games where you didn't aim. It was just hip firing. It was just firing.
Right.
That's not why I do it. I do it because a lot of the times the enemy's too close and I can trust that my weapon will still take them out without me losing too much of my peripheral vision if I zoom in on this person.
Nah, they can be right in
I
my
love
face
hip firing.
and I'll be like,
It's yeah, I need to aim at you.
Starting off, we will introduce this month's game with the scripted segment giving you all the details, and then we will go into our unscripted thoughts about the game shortly afterwards. I'm Sondi, and with me always is Bendezzer. So without further ado, enjoy.
Binary Domain is a third-person shooter developed by Ryogakuto Studio and conceived by Toshihiro Nagoshi, the man that created the Yaukza series. But instead of alleyway brawls and Japanese underworld politics, this time they aimed for something more Western, a squad-based sci-fi shooter. Now the result didn't exactly reinvent the wheel, but it was Sega's deliberate attempt to chase the military shooter audience while experimenting with something new. Set in the year 2080, climate change has flooded much of the world. In Tokyo, a new city has been built above the waterline, while the old world crumbles beneath. You play as Dan Marshall, an American Rust crew operative sent in with a small team to investigate a breach of international law. The problem? Hollow Children, advanced humanoid robots so lifelike they don't know they're machines. As the mission deepens, the line between human and robot starts to blur, raising philosophical questions that most shooters dare not ask. Gameplay leans heavily into standard cover-based shooting, but Binary Domain tries to distinguish itself with its consequence system. Players can issue commands to AI squad mates using dialogue wheels or even voice recognition. Trust plays a role. Your teammates' loyalty can shift depending on how you treat them, influencing their performance in combat and even the story's outcome. The shooting itself is kinetic and satisfying, with location-based damage adding flair and impact to every shot. Robots even react dynamically, like blowing off a leg makes them stumble, a headshot sends them into a berserk frenzy. Between missions, players upgrade weapons and can tweak nanomachine loadouts to bolster stats like health and defense, all done via vending machines. It's actually kind of cool too, because the vending machines, after you've done your business, when you walk away, a little lottery-esque, sound plays, and it's possible that you might get free ammo or free ammo or free ammo. That's it. Presentation-wise, it's unmistakably Sega. The environments are a mix of slick neon and industrial grime, the cast is multinational and loud, and the dialogue swings between heartfelt and melodramatic. Big Bo, your early game partner, steals more than a few scenes with his bravado and comic relief. It all feels like a blend of Western action cinema filtered through a distinctly Japanese lens, charmingly uneven but memorable.
Including crabs.
Binary Domain was officially revealed in December 2010. The marketing leaned into identity and ethics, with trailers using slogans like "The Machine Age has begun." It was featured at E3 and Tokyo Game Show in 2011, and in Japan, Sega even sent a demo truck on tour featuring series producer and creator Toshihiro Nagoshi. Pre-orders came with Yakuza-themed multiplayer skins, an obvious nod to Sega's core fanbase. The game launched in early 2012, February for consoles, and April for PC. Unfortunately, the timing was rough. It dropped just before Mass Effect 3 and had to compete in a market that was being dominated by Skyrim and Dark Souls. Plus, the Western market was still saturated with military shooters. Modern Warfare 3, Battlefield 3 had just released that previous fall. Regardless, many Japanese studios were pivoting to appeal to Western audiences, and Binary Domain was part of that wave. Reception was mixed to positive. Critics appreciated the ambitious storytelling and destructible enemies, and some compared its themes to Blade Runner and Ghost in the Shell. The consequence system also received praise, even if the voice recognition didn't always work. But there were more glaring issues. Enemy variety thinned out, the level design grew repetitive, and the squad AI sometimes ignored commands altogether. On Metacritic, the game landed in the low 70s across all platforms. Commercial performance was modest. In North America, it sold around 20,000 units by April 2012. It fared better in Japan though, with over 70,000 units sold in its first week. Those numbers weren't enough to justify a sequel. A follow-up was never greenlit, though producer Daisuke Sato has publicly said he'd like to revisit the concept. Today, Binary Domain lives in a strange limbo. It's not quite a cult classic, but it has its defenders. It shows up in overlooked sci-fi lists and retrospectives, remembered more for its ambition than its polish. It's a uniquely Japanese take on Western design, a strange hybrid from a time when Sega was still willing to gamble on original IPs. Binary Domain may be scrapped to some, but there's still circuitry humming under the dust. You just have to know where to look. Down where the parts are spare and the story's forgotten, tucked away in the back of the rack.
Binary Domain. This is a classic. I think this is one of those games that I think when people revisit it, if they do, they're gonna realize that it should have been a lot more successful. But it also came out during a time when like a bunch of these types of games, the Gears of War clones, as they called them, squad-based,
Back in the day.
third-person shooters, yeah.
Before they called them
squad-based,
Last of Us
cover-based. Yeah, yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Although in Last of Us, you don't really have like the game flow. Like, there's not a lot of like being behind cover and like taking pot shots and stuff. I feel like that's what because Gears of War is so. It's kind of like The Division, where it's like you need to get into cover.
You need to hunker down.
Yeah, you know. So I don't know, but maybe I guess in some
It's
sense,
a dark
Last of Us
sector,
kinda
like.
is. Yeah, that's what it is. But considering you didn't play this on release, I did. What's your knowledge of this game? Like, when did
My knowledge of this game is choosing
Yeah,
Vanquish.
prior to playing it.
Was choosing Vanquish over this game because it had a cool slide. I remember seeing this game a lot, and only thing I remembered about it was hearing everybody be like, yeah, the voice controls is so ass, and I just assumed voice controls, yeah, it's ass, you know.
Yeah.
So I never really like looked deeper into the game or what it actually played like, and I just continued to stay on track with Vanquish, which isn't. It feels like it should be Boater, but it's. I wouldn't say it's Boater, but it's the same situation. You got a cool guy shooting robots, doing cool stuff, fighting giant robots, and I was like, one game allows me to slide and do a backflip and shoot in slow mo, and the other game, it looks like I'm just behind cover. So I'll choose the former.
Yeah, it appealed to your like action game sensibilities.
Yes.
I mean, that's platinum for you, so that makes a lot of sense. So what? Vanquish came out 2010. Binary Domain came out 2 years later in 2012.
And I was on Dragon's Dogma and Skyrim and MMOs by that time. So
Yeah, it kind of gets drowned out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like that's what I was saying with like Vanquish in this game, because it's like when you look at them in the bargain bin, it's like I'm gonna choose this one over this one. This one looks generic, while this one looks a little like it's got a little bit more swag to it.
I will say that the cover of Binary Domain doesn't do it a lot of justice. There's something about like off looking about it.
Right.
Like even the main I'm like, what is this? Like he
it looks like
look
a dude bro shooter. Like it looks like you would be sitting. It looks like Brothers in Arms sci-fi or something of the sorts like that. Like it seems like you would just be shooting people, issuing squad commands a la Mass Effect or the Bureau XCOM or something like that. It doesn't look like you would be doing all of the crazy shit that you do in this game.
Yeah, I'm trying to like. Yeah, because like the cover has the main character, which I already fucking forgot his name, Dan. And the art style looks off. The art style doesn't even look like what is presented in the game, I guess. Like, he looks like a weird, skinny person. Like, he just...
Yeah, why is Charlie hurt?
Yeah, Charlie's on his back. And then you have, like, vague silhouettes of Faye and Big Bo. Yeah, it just doesn't... It's not a great cover. Not a great cover at all. I think one of the deceptively... I think the cover did it really no justice, I would say. Because Vanquish is a good cover.
You get exactly what you are going to get out of that game as soon as you see the cover for Vanquish. You see him sliding, you see him with the gun, and you see him in some weird robotic armor, and you go, okay, cool. I know what I'm getting out of this game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Actually, speaking of covers, just to go on a tangent, do you remember the Resistance 3 cover? Because it's crazy. It's like the only time like they did like some like a really artistic like cover.
Oh, you're talking about the one where it's like just the orange skull.
Orange. Yeah, with like the city like outline to make his teeth. Yeah. That was like the cover of a AAA game. Like, you just wouldn't see that anymore. That's crazy. Because it's like so graphic design like led, as opposed to like having the main character with the gun, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
because even you look at like the other two Resistance covers, and it's like even the PSP game, they're all just like dude with gun, destruction behind them, and it's like that's like 70 games during the 366 generation. That could be Haze for all I know.
Yeah. Although because of the third one didn't sell well, I think that the consensus is that part of it maybe was that people saw this cover and they were like, I don't know what this game is. But I feel like if you're on the third game, if it's Resistance 3 and it's all like tied narratively, I feel like you can have a little bit of fun with the third one. You know, it's like,
yeah, and that was E3 time when everybody watched everybody's E3 conference and did their grades and all that stuff. So you like Killzone, like I know all about Killzone. I only played Killzone, Shadowfall, whatever the one on PS4 was, but like Resistance, same situation. I only played the PSP one, but I knew that Resistance. There was another series that Sony did, right? There's a third person shooter they did, right? There was Resistance, Killzone.
That's first person?
Yeah, like a first person shooter? Or is that the only two? I swear there was like a third one.
Those are the only first party ones.
Resistance Fall of Man. Is that the first one?
Resistance Fall of Man is the first game, I think. Resistance 2 Retribution, and then Resistance 3. I don't know. I actually have never played the Resistance games. I didn't like them. I played the first one and I was like, and then I played a little bit the second. I was like, I don't fuck with this at all. But Killzone, I fuck with Killzone.
Yeah, I don't know if I would fuck with that. I don't know. But to be fair, I don't like PS3 shooters in general. So,
well, yeah, that's that's pretty fair. that's fuck it. Yeah. Yeah, Binary Domain for me came out at a time when I was fresh out of high school, you know, and I was just buying every fucking game that was coming out, like every mainstream triple game. There was like like during the PS3 era, there was, and I've mentioned this before on other episodes, where I was just like there day and date for like you could conceivably buy every game that was coming out in a year, because there'd be like 3 months without a game, and then a game, and then a game would come out, and then maybe a month later another game would come out. But it's not like, I feel like in the more recent years, and you and me know this, but it's stacked. There's too many games coming out. There's no possible way for us to buy every game, play every game.
At $80 too now.
Right, yeah, $69.99, $79.99. It's getting way too expensive. You know, Doom Dark Ages just came out alongside Expedition 33 and Oblivion. It's like there's no way you'd be able to fucking
South of Midnight. Then we got
there's no, like, a week apart. There's no way. But anyways, Binary Domain was a game that I really was excited for, because I liked the aesthetic of like the sci-fi setting. I think specifically when they're in the slums, they showed those sections off a lot. And I just thought it looked like really cool. But what really drew my attention, and I think most people, was like the physics of destroying the robots. You know, like
Right.
it just looked like realistic, because mostly in most games you're fighting like other flesh and blood enemies, and so like you just get blood splatters or whatever. This is one a game that really took advantage of, like, you're fighting robots, and when you're shooting them, it's like scrap metals coming off, and so it just feels and looks cool. I also think there was a demo that really sold me on it too, that I was like, yeah, I'm picking this up. And it was a game that just came and went. I don't remember a fucking single thing about it. I don't know, like, maybe because, I don't know, I think maybe it is was forgetful at the time, you know? But, like, because we had many games that were doing the third person, you know, story-based, cover-based kind of, like, thing. I don't know, but it was that I can understand why it was forgotten. Why it's sort of like that game that people know of, but like also it's like, did you play it? And people were like, no, I didn't. You know.
Yeah.
Just one of those titles.
Yeah. Even after replaying it twice, it is. I could feel you where I'm like, I even thought this morning where I was like, should I put this back in for a second just to refresh my memory? Like,
it has been a minute, yeah.
Because
we're late on this episode.
Well, true, but also like it's just as a game, and we talked about this a little bit on Status Check about games being innovative or having to do anything excellent, where it just does everything that it needs to do just right enough to where it makes the game serviceable on top of the unique mechanics that it has. So, but the main mechanic, we'll talk about it during gameplay, but it doesn't work. You can't even use the voice recognition. So if I had to actually speak and use the voice recognition the whole playthrough, it probably would have been a lot more memorable because I have to talk to the actual people. But because I can't, it's just another generic game where I can just tell my squad mates, go here.
Yeah, I think because it sold itself on like the voice control or whatever, which is very experimental, you know. I think it's kind of cool that a game has like a gimmick like that, you know, like a shooter. They were trying something new and it worked well enough that they were like confident that they could implement it. But then, you know, when it got wide released and, you know, it's just like not.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't use any of the voice command stuff, and I feel like it didn't change anything. Oh, you did?
I tried with PS3. I had a PS3 mic just in case. I have a PS3 mic. That didn't work. I tried with like PC. I've tried multiple mics, even looked up like patches and all that stuff to try to get it to work. Nothing worked. Yeah. So I was like, I don't know. I give up. I don't care. Like, it doesn't want me to work. I feel like that's the intended option, was for them to like market it. For them to market it and then just be like, yeah, we got this. Because I guarantee you in an alternate universe, this system worked, and then they put it in the next Yakuza game. And for some reason, Kiryu, you had to talk to people and be like, get out the way, Buster. And that would stop people from like trying to fight you or something like that. I guarantee you this was a test before they did implemented it into a full Yakuza game. And they said, nobody liked that? All right, never mind. We're not putting it in Yakuza 5.
Yeah. What Yakuza were they on when this released?
That's a great question.
They were like on 3? I think maybe they were like around 3, maybe, or in between 4, 3 and 4 possibly.
I want to say they were... Yeah, they were on Yakuza Dead Souls and Yakuza 4. Like, yeah, they said they were just about to make Yakuza... Yeah, wow, that was a lucky-ass guess. Yeah, they were working on Yakuza 5 at the time because it was 2012, yeah.
I think the Yakuza Dead Souls, I wonder if it feels like this. No, Yakuza Dead Souls, I think, felt really, like, really stiff. Like, it was something different entirely.
That was one of the Yakuzas that I did play, and it did feel weird, but I don't know if it felt weird just because that's just how Yakuza felt during that time. Because everybody loves to talk about Yakuza Kiwami and Yakuza Kiwami 2, but nobody likes to talk about Yakuza 3 through 5.
Before, they tried their new engine or updated it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Yakuza has a heft to it, for sure. There's like and it's seen here too a little bit. I would say even like it's definitely here. But let's jump into presentation. I feel my guess is that you probably really fucked with the overall art direction. Maybe not the music exactly, but I feel like you might have fucked with it. What do you have to say?
When it comes to the art direction of this game, it's
okay.
I kind of like this style a lot. I wish that more games focused on this style a little bit more. Where during the sixth generation, seventh generation? During the seventh generation, there was a lot of games where they had like they were trying to tell realistic stories and have realistic characters, but they didn't necessarily make them realistic. They still kept them stylized, like Spec Ops: The Line or this game, or you know what I'm saying? Like there wasn't such realism attached to the characters and allowed them to be expressive. Like how Big Bo, you see his eyes and he's like, whoa, during certain situations. I thought that was really charming. Honestly, I think this game just has a really nice presentation just in general. The UI is clean as hell. Like the colors, when you go into like the shop menu specifically, is like really charming. I like the way that the blues and pinks and yellows, how that has a different hue compared to the normal UI, how it's dark, how it stands out a little bit more and you can see the effects. I think it just looks great. And I think that realism does a good impression once you start adding in these sci-fi elements such as the giant great lancers or the spiders or any of the other giant robot bosses that you fight. It feels real, even though you're like, that's crazy, and I'm killing 1,000 robots. This doesn't make any sense, but it looks real.
What did you think of the actually, I want to go back to something that you said about the character designs with like the graphical side of the character design, like their in-game models. You said something, I forgot which game it was or which episode, but you had mentioned like it feels very like anime but CG real life Advent Children anime. And I feel like I noticed that that's what this was, but it tended towards more real, like they weren't quite realistic entirely, but they were close enough. But at the same time, yeah, they looked definitely more stylized. Like you can almost like Faye and some of the expressions that Dan made. Like I don't know why, like I could almost see them like, you know, like their 2D concept arts. You know, because they had like bigger eyes and they just had very like they just weren't entirely realistic, but they straddled that line, I think, really carefully, where they're like, well, let's not make them too realistic. Let's give them
right. Their faces are they have very expressive faces, as well as like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or something of the sorts like that, where it's very realistic looking, but obviously those characters aren't realistic. And
yeah, the proportions,
right, because Big Bo is big as shit, but
yeah,
he's still like, if he was to make this into like a live action movie or something of the sorts, you can cast Lou Ferrigno or somebody to what's the big dude from Shawshank Redemption?
Michael Duncan.
Yeah, Michael Duncan or somebody like that is him.
Yeah, that's funny. You're thinking about you could have The Rock play Big Bo. But yeah, I did like the style. I liked I thought it was like an overall grounded sci-fi aesthetic. I thought like like it wasn't too out there. It felt like what you would probably see in a movie that was trying to like, you know, convey a more realistic and believable sci-fi future. Which I think that they really like double down on with like all the world building and just like the dilapidated slums and the, you know, the difference from the slums to the upper city or whatever it's called. I don't know.
Right.
I can't remember the name of it, but I did think it was a great contrast as you worked your way up from like the dilapidated sewers and crumbled, buildings to like this white, pristine, clean, like landscape. I think it was a cool visual change, as well as some of the factory stuff, which I feel like in video games, factories and like industrial complexes like are always like a level. It's always in here. Like there's so many games that have like the boring gray corridors, like they're just a factory or what, like warehouses. Metal Gear has a lot of that kind of stuff, but a lot of other games do too. And I feel like in this they made them a little bit more interesting, like with like when you're in Amada Corporation, the building, you go to specific levels, like the agriculture level.
Yes, I was going to mention the agriculture level, just how you come into the agriculture level, and then you see like the whole like film, and they're given the exposition of like how this works and how this just makes any vegetable and everything that they want. Like, this carries for everything. You're like, okay, that's very sci-fi. That's very utopian. Right. I like that. And then you just go through the factory. You don't even kill the bots. You don't even like attack them and just run straight past them. Like, keep doing your job. Keep making food for everybody. Or the sewer is another interesting spot, I would say. Just how you have the spiral of going up through the sewers and having the water rise up and cleanse through the sewer system. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like a lot of really, I mean, just the environment-wise, a lot of really great set pieces, looking locations. I think personally, I like the slums the most. Like the broken buildings with like, they got lighting down really well, even for like that early. There's like a couple of sections where like the lighting is like hitting. I mean, it's baked in lighting, but it's not like, real time lighting, but it just looks great, especially for a title that came out in 2012, which is what, 24
years ago.
No. It's, what's the math on that? 13 years ago? Because
14 years ago. This is like right before the PS4 came out.
Yeah,
like a year or two before
it's really, I think they did a really great job realizing some of these levels. What did you think of just the overall character designs? Did any of them strike you, or between Faye, Charlie, Big Bo, or Dan, did any of them speak to you? Kane.
See, you don't even mention Rachel. That's a fucked up thing. See that, and the game doesn't even talk about Rachel. So
yeah, okay. I was gonna say Rachel's like not even. I don't even know why they included her.
I think it's kind of strange. It's fucked up, but I think everybody does have their place, and I don't know if it's just because of like how the story and how like characters have their own like dialogue depending on who you choose, and they all bounce off each other like very dynamically. So, but for me, like Rachel was a cool cat. I rock with Rachel. Mm-hmm. Very generic, very forgettable, just like the Resistance guy and the cop that you had at the end. Very forgettable characters. Yeah. But I mean, other than the main set of Big Bo, Charlie, Faye, Kane, because those are the main characters that you spend extended periods of times with, they all really don't matter. Like I honestly forgot what the main villain's whole shtick was. I'm not played it. I don't know. Same with for the other characters, like the little Yakuza kids. The Yakuza boss. Couldn't tell you what they look like. I'll splice the gameplay footage of them somewhere in this episode, and that'll probably be my one time being like, oh yeah, during editing. Oh yeah, that's what that dude looked like.
This is definitely one of Ryo Gakuto, the developers. This is one of their, I don't want to say weak points, but they strive for very normal looking people. Like fashion wise, face wise, like they're really like I don't want to say bland, like they're just like so grounded, I guess. Like they don't make their characters really stand out too much. If you play any of the Yakuza games, all the side characters look so normal. Like they don't, I mean, there's like one or two that have like maybe eccentric sort of characteristic or something, but usually they're pretty tame. And I feel like this is exemplified here, because I was even thinking to myself, like, Bo is really like your Barrett, you know, like, I don't know why the Japanese,
but he only really stands out because he's black.
Right, yeah. But he's also the biggest, like, silhouette. Like, he's the biggest character. You know, and then you have your classic, I don't know, I guess Dan is like the Yankee, the American, you know. Although I kind of feel like they should have made him, like, blonde or something. He could have passed off as, like, European or something. I don't know. It was just kind of, I was like, oh, yeah, he's the American? I don't know. It was strange to me, but.
It's easier for a brunette buzz cut.
Yeah.
It's easier to model that way.
I think, and then you have Charlie, and they didn't even know what to do with his hair, so they just
throw
gave
a
him
beanie on it.
Yeah, just give him a beanie for the whole thing. But yeah, they don't stand out too much. I think their characterizations play into so many, like, movie stereotypes that you kind of get, like, what they're supposed to be, and you know, they're somewhat charming because of that. But yeah, I mean, I can't particularly say that I liked, like, the overall character design, just because they're very bland. They're very just like, they're just there. They're like, okay, let's just put a couple of vests on them, make them look gray, you know.
Even their weapons are generic.
Right,
even though it's like machine gun, SMG, even though they're all are different, like, categories of guns, they all just look like square block guns. It's kind of like you said, like the Gears of War-ification of, like, the game, where it's like everything just feels blocky, big, and chunky, even though it's not.
Right, yeah. I think that's a good way to describe it, yeah. Like, it's not quite as stylistic as Gears of War, because Gears of War has a style for sure. I think they have, like, a great consistency with, like, the character models, the armor, the guns, and all that. But here, it's like a toned down, more realistic version of that, where I feel like they could have done more, honestly. But, you know, I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you gonna do? I think the most in the beginning of the game, you're wearing these high tech dive suits. I think,
and those
maybe
are
they're
really
not dive
cool.
suits.
They were really cool.
They set you up for, like, oh, maybe you're gonna get, like, a cool suit, or maybe I can switch between, like, this more sleek, like, battle armor, kind of like Vanquish, you know. But you don't ever. You just go back to your fucking military, like, wearing athletic armor.
Yeah, just shoulder pads for some reason.
That's
just
it. Yeah,
finagling. What do you think of the set pieces that was in the game?
Well, I think that's what this development studio does best, for sure, is, like, the cutscenes, the presentation of them, right? Very movie like. They're very cinematic and action packed, and they're nonstop.
I love them.
I
love each and every one. But I think, like you said, this is the hallmark trait of the Yakuza developers. Is every time that you play, like, even if you play a Yakuza game where you just go through, like, I think of Yakuza 0, that very first time that you, like, storm through that building as Kiryu, and you're just, that one guy keeps coming back and you keep beating him up until you throw him out the window. I think, like, that's the level of presentation you're getting, where it's just seamless switching between, like, gameplay to cutscene to gameplay. It blends so seamlessly that it still feels impressive. Like, there's certain times where I play games, like, for example, playing Ratchet and Clank when I first got a PlayStation 5, when you just play it and you go, wow, that's next gen. And it's weird to play a game in the past on that console and still feel like, oh yeah, this is next gen.
Yeah, I mean, it really leans on its, like, cinematic presentation and, you know, going in. Although I will say that I was getting tired of, they would have a cutscene and it, man, I can't even count. And I'm not going to ask you to do this, and, like, when you're overlaying the gameplay, but basically every cutscene would end with Dan and his gun pointing it at the camera. He's like, all right, it's time to do this. All right. Like, it was if you go back and notice, it's always like pointing at the camera. Every cutscene ends that way. And I'm just like, what? And I started to notice it more at the end. I'm like, why are we always, what's going on here? This is becoming obvious that, like,
Yeah,
They
but I mean,
just
that's
didn't
like
know how to transition like out of these scenes, you know?
that's true. That's also like how JRPGs do it. JRPGs always have it to where the whole party like readies up and they're like, "All right, time to fight," and then it transitions to whatever the battle screen is, and you're like, "That's not
Yeah.
what's about to happen in this battle." Like,
Right. Yeah. I guess that's true. Yeah, that could be a Japanese sensibility in like their game design. I just think it happened more frequently here than you would see in a JRPG, probably because it's, JRPG is padded out over 50 hours as opposed to this
8 hour little romp.
Yeah, exactly. Where yeah, but no, I agree with you. I did like the cutscenes, the set pieces. It was all it's action packed. It's like, it's like a popcorn flick. It was great.
Yeah.
And they all looked really great. And they felt, I did wonder to myself though, are these long? Like, because Yakuza games are story heavy, and I feel like the cutscenes sometimes felt pretty long for an action game. And I was like,
it's
wow,
definitely
we're really
long. Well, my second playthrough,
like,
I skipped all the cutscenes on the second playthrough, and I beat it in like 3 hours. It was like one sitting, 3 hours. I was just like, oh yeah,
wow.
like it's an incredibly short game. Once you skip the cutscenes, and you still have to play through the interactive cutscenes, like for example, all the beginning with like, we gotta swim and hide and do the boat, like all of those interactive parts still take up a lot of the playtime. But you skip the cutscenes, this is a very short game. So yeah, they do take up a lot of spots. Like for example, the one jarring part, and when I started skipping the cutscenes when I replayed, was when you fight the Grand Lancer for the first time and you smack it with the like steel beams, and then it does like a cutscene that goes back and explains like Dan's backstory and the whole backstory behind the like hollow children and stuff like that. It has like this whole exposition dump in the middle of a boss fight, and then comes back to the boss fight like midway through. And I was like, yeah, if you cut all that out, it goes through. But yeah.
I should have maybe done a replay, but it did. I played on hard, and so it took me, on top of me already being a slow player of games, I think it took me like 22 hours probably. Like
a lot of replaying.
I would say maybe, because I died a lot, and there's a difficulty spike towards the end with some of the bosses that I'm just like, damn.
I'm about to say, I know I died a lot playing on normal, so I know that you struggled a lot on hard towards the end.
Yeah.
Even on replays, I struggled a lot with that last, like towards, once you get to the part where like, it's just Kane and Faye for like a long time. It's just chaos after that point.
Yeah. Definitely really, really difficult. Do you have any thoughts about the UI?
I think it's clean. I think it's mad clean. I love the pause menu, how it shows. One thing I never noticed until the second playthrough was that the trust meter, because I genuinely didn't know that there was a trust meter at all that you could like gauge and see like how far everybody was. It was like a little bit too tiny, and I wish that there was like another like option to show you, like when you click into a character, it'd be like trust and have like a giant bar or something on the side to show you. But other than that, I thought that the UI for the shop was really clean, really concise. Showed you exactly what it needed to show you without overloading you. Like, for example, when you upgrade your guns, it just shows you I like when games just show you the blue bar of like, or like the bar of like, this is how much it's going to increase. So you know, instead of having to guess and it just be like, yeah, it increases your accuracy. How much?
Yeah. Giving you like a number, like a numerical value, like, oh, it's, it's going up by 10%. Like I do like the visual, like, oh, here's this bar and it's going up this much. That's a lot more satisfying to me, at least. But I think that's probably subjective. The UI sort of reminded me of Resident Evil 6 for some reason. There's like
I can see that
future slickness to it that I was like, this kind of reminds me. And for the longest time, I thought this was a Capcom game, a Capcom game. But it's actually Sega. So I was like, wait, this is not an RE spin-off.
It is very ironic that this RE6 came out 2012, right? Or was it like 2011?
So. 2011 or 2012.
Oh yeah, it was 2012. So yeah, it was just very ironic that both of them decided to do very slick, futuristic industrial looking UIs at the same time. But I mean, they both. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. But what did you think about the music? Because I honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. I could care less about the music in this game, but the sound effects were amazing in this game. Like the hit marker when you shoot a scrap head, like the head off, or like when you like get the points whenever like you activate a combo chain, like that ding that it had. It hits every time. It's so satisfying. It's super addicting to try to like keep comboing that and getting crazy numbers.
Yeah. I think the sound effects were really good. The menu UI effects were all good. Guns sounded great. I think the audio, the voice actors, the audio for them sometimes could be like when you're in the game, I felt like it could be low sometimes. But it wasn't too bad. But they did that thing where it's like you're walking and the characters are speaking and you can interrupt what they're saying and then you'll never know like what they were gonna say. They do that thing. That's like one of my biggest pet peeves where I'm like, what? Why wouldn't you like plan for this? Like, what if our player is like sprinting and he gets to like the checkpoint and the person's talking and they just stop talking and you're just like, fuck, what the fuck were they saying? Like I hate that so much.
This is actually very funny to think about because as I play through Dragon Age Veilguard right now, and I do sprint through trying to just get collectibles, and they're having their little side talk. We need to get into a fight, and then they completely restart the side talk from the beginning and go, as I was saying about this, and it's like
I like that. I think that's so cool because I'm like, okay, cool. Like it's like it. I mean, for one, I feel like it makes the characters feel a bit more realistic or lived in. Like they realize what's happening. Like, oh, I was talking, we got into a fight, and then now we're done. So, anyways, let's keep, as opposed to like, Faye saying something and then she stops talking because enemies come up or you like go to the next checkpoint and then it's like, oh, well, I'm not going to tell you, anymore or anything. Yeah. So I don't know. But there was actually something about the presentation that I thought was good. And maybe this would have to do a bit more with the writing, but I do think they added to the overall like feel of the characters being like actual people. And that is when is it Charlie that has to use the restroom at some point? Like
no, that's the Resistance guy.
Okay. Yeah. That's a Shindo. Yeah. I thought that was such a cool. It's a very Japanese thing, a bathroom kind of joke in the middle of the action, but like it's cool because it gives the characters like we eat and shit and do all this other stuff. I feel like sometimes to give characters more of that 3-dimensionality or to make them feel like actual people and not just like action heroes, is to put them in situations like this to ground them, where it's like they're in the middle of a fight, and he's like, "Dude, I've been holding this for so long." And he runs.
Bro,
to the
we just fought a giant centipede, bro. Please just let me shit real quick.
Yeah, It's a very. I feel like it's a very Japanese sensibility to do that kind of stuff, but I really thought it was funny and charming, and and as he's using the bathroom, you guys get attacked, and then you get to go. Not protect him, but you're just fighting them off as he's fucking.
Dude, fucking protect me! I gotta fucking wipe.
It was good. I thought that was like it added to the overall like feel that these people have like a history and impulses and needs and stuff like that, which I think the Yakuza devs definitely are good at, because I mean Yakuza is known for its narrative.
How was the frame rate for the 360 version? Was it also ass?
You know what? It wasn't that bad, man. Do you know what happened with the 360 version? I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was like a solid 30. But what would happen is during the transition between cutscenes or the transition between gameplay to a cutscene, it would freeze for like a solid second to be noticeable. And
so like it would hit you and be like FMV now.
Yeah. Exactly. It would like go black or whatever, or cut to the first frame of the cutscene, and it would be frozen, and then it would fucking catch up with itself and then play. And that was pretty noticeable, but it didn't happen often enough where I was like, it just felt like that was the fucking 7th generation, man. They just had shit. We had to deal with that shit all the time.
And like the boss fights ran at like solid 30s and everything too?
No.
Okay.
I mean, when all like the effects were happening, explosions, it definitely dipped a little bit. Yeah.
Because the PS3 version was like, that's why I went and replayed it on PlayStation 3. I mean, on PlayStation 3 PC, because I was like, I don't want to have a dark sector issue with this game. Let me play it to see it at max potential. And those boss fights, way easier, way cooler when they all run at a solid 60 frames per second. But on PS3, like the first Grand Lancer battle, I was like, bro, or like, what was it, the spider when you had to break all the legs? Bro, that shit ran at like 2 frames a second. I was like, this is, I can't
really?
do it was literally like frame by frame. It was so slow. I was like, usually I can deal with slowdown when it comes to like older titles and stuff like that. That's not an issue. But like this, it was like, that's why I kept saying like, oh, this is next gen. Because I was like, this can't run at all. Like,
yeah. I think I want to say that the frame rate was probably worse than the PS3. I mean, the 360 I think has a less effects going on, and because the PS3 version is on a Blu-ray disc, so it has a lot more data to read and stream. The Xbox 360 is on a DVD, so they can't pack a lot of that stuff in, but that helps it run more efficiently. And obviously, with the cell architecture of the PS3, there was if you wanted a smoother it might have looked slightly better, but if you wanted like a smoother experience, you're probably going to be playing the 360 version. So yeah, actually this is kind of weird, but this was my second full 360 game I've played on so wait, hold on, was it my second? Yeah, Binary Domain was the first game I played front to back on the 360, and I've played some other games like have dabbled but haven't like properly beat. And I want to say that I think the controller is, I really like the Xbox 360 controller.
We got them, boys. This is like the best thing made by man. This controller is amazing, bro.
Yeah, the 360 controller is like really,
it feels
solid. Especially for like a shooter specifically. Like,
yes.
I was like, wait, hold on, this is actually nice.
Yeah, and then it's been my go-to niggas.
We got big hands, right? So I was like, this is actually like, I feel like I'm actually good at this, because I was getting headshots like nothing, man. I was like,
which is very ironic, because playing on PS3, that's why I learned how to hipfire, was because of playing like with the PS3 controller. And then I figured out, it's like same thing with Wet, where I was like, bro, I played the demo like back on 360. I was a fucking dog in that game. And I realized like playing like I played Crackdown 2 for a little bit just to test my 360 when I got it. And I was like, oh no, it's the controller. It's the PS3 controller. It's not really intuitive when it comes to any other genre. Amazing, but specifically
the PS3 controller is rough.
Yeah, with shooters, I don't know if it's like a dead zone issue or something of the sorts.
There's not a lot of tension, like so it feels really loose, and then its position too. It kind of like
right there. So have to.
It's a bit more cramped, It's made for Japanese people. That's what it is.
A lot of people take for granted, like specifically this motion of like how easy it is to do camera controls and press like a button right here. How it's like kind of seamless compared to like the PS3 remotes, where I still catch myself like even playing Dragon Age Velgar, where I'm like, oh, I need to control the camera. Oh, like I'm stupid. I'm sorry. Like, I just completely forgot about the right analog stick for a moment.
Yeah, I need to get one for playing games on PC, because I was like, wait, this controller is actually like really comfortable. It just felt really like it made a lot of sense. Obviously, we played Blitz before this I played the 360 version, and that was just a different experience. I was just getting used to the buttons and where they were, but playing a shooter, everything's a bit more natural. Like where your reload button is gonna be the same. Well, that's not true because I had to change the
because isn't it like RB layout in this game?
Yeah, it's like originally like it's because there was a time where the reload button was the shoulder buttons.
Yeah, because Gears of War did that too. But both of these games have like a mechanic involved with reloading. Like the shock burst in this game, Gears of War had the active reload.
Oh, that's right.
Even if I press X and I had to press X again when I'm already like getting prepped, it was easier to just RB. I'm not gonna lie, playing Halo, I swapped melee to like was melee always RB, or I think I swapped reload to RB. I know I used to have one of the two on RB and the other one on X.
I think I know I chose the scout style for the layout in Binary Domain. That's what the controller layout was called, scout style. And that was basically like the contemporary, like what we are used to now with shooters. But yeah, it is kind of interesting where the buttons, where they put buttons and all that. But yeah, let's go into story and let's talk about probably I feel like this is the most underrated part of this game, I would say. And I don't know why they didn't. Maybe they did in the marketing kind of talk about the philosophical perspective they were taking on like humanity and AI, and how they were kind of mixing that with like be action people, and so it's kind of interesting because the story is, I don't want to say like it's a great story, but it is. They tell the hell out of the story.
Oh yeah. You feel sense. By the time that it finished, you're like, damn, oh man.
Yeah, they were really trying. They were really like it's not like, I feel like it really falls apart in that third act, and I feel like they could have. I think it wraps up too quickly, and there's some cliches that happen at the end that I'm just like, I was like, okay, this is what we're doing.
The only thing I wish was changed about the story was the commander just deciding to be evil for some fucking reason at the end. But because I really liked the whole dilemma when it came to Faye being a hollow child, and I liked the Amada and how like he made himself into a hollow child and all that stuff. I was like, oh, that's really cool. I like that. And I wish that the game just ended with Amada being like a giant robot instead of the commander being a giant robot or something like that. It would have just made the story just enough. But because of that, it kind of feels stunted a little bit. And we'll get to it when we talk about characters more, because specifically Dan, I think Dan as a character is very conflicting for me. Because in the gameplay, he's the jokester, American, gung-ho guy. But then you get glimpses of his backstory and why he hates robots so much is because of, his abuse as a child and his mom and robots being involved with that. He feels they were at fault for that abuse. It doesn't feel like that's necessarily addressed, especially when Kane joins the party and he's like, what the fuck? It's a robot. You know how I feel about robots. They all deserve to die.
Right. Yeah.
And even he just goes with the flow. He just accepts that he has to work with this robot. There isn't like any tension. He doesn't say anything shitty to this robot. The robot is just like, all right, he just accepts it and is like, all right, cool, I got to work with this robot. It's whatever. And I don't think Dan as a character would do that. At least what was told to me at the time of his character arc.
I think I have the answer to why it is the way that you're describing. I think the developers ran into an issue with Dan's interaction with each character and building their trust meter. I think they couldn't go full tilt like Dan hates this person because they wrote the story and like the mechanic of the trust meter where like you're still talking and ordering people around and like getting their approval and disapproval, And so they probably thought it would be even more of a disconnect if they had like Dan be fucking, going off on Kane all the time, but then you cut to gameplay and you have them in your party
and you're so cool. You're like, hey, Kane, come fuck with me.
Yeah, like, Kane, can you help me? I'm dying over here. Like, can you come, hit me, like revive me or whatever? So, but I think the story and the character dynamics and all that do struggle with the actual gameplay, like in that way, because I feel like Dan feels like 3 different characters because he has his own backstory and he's written as his own character, but then like when we're interacting and choosing his like dialogue and stuff, it feels like he's a whole different character. This is something that I personally don't like, where developers will create a separate character and they'll write them to be something, but then they'll have like the player choose responses that seem out of character for that, like, player or for that character. And I feel like with Dan, some of like the responses that you can like say, or like some of his actions just feel out of like place for like who Dan is.
Right.
And so you kind of like lose that like that sense of like cohesion, that he's like a cohesive, rounded out character, because it's like, oh, he's saying this and that, responding this way, and you get that choice. And I don't know, it's kind of like strange to me.
It's weird because they try to make him seem like a ladies' man or something like that, right? He's like, you like the honeys, don't you? And it's like,
yeah.
Like, I remember I said something about like Faye, and she's like, can you guys like not be like fucking weird while I'm right behind you guys? And because I was trying to answer it like in character of Dan, of what I known at the time, but it's like, yeah, like you said, like, and even then, if I had voice recognition, all of those prompts would have been way more complex and had way more different implications, especially because it's like my voice being put onto this character, even though they have their own voice and they can talk.
I think he should have been a blank slate. I really do like his backstory, even though it's not fleshed out. I do like that they included that, and they like, it's a recurring theme that they show it, and it is a missed opportunity. But I feel like they needed to decide to either have him be his own, kind of like Kiryu, right? Like, just have him be like a fully fleshed out his own character. There's things that Kiryu would do and wouldn't do, just like there's things that. What's the other dude's name? The crazier dude in Yakuza? Yeah.
Majima, yeah.
Yeah, like the shit that he would do and wouldn't do that are in within. But it's, those characters are still so well defined, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, there's not things that you can do that are outside of, I guess, their character entirely, right, except for maybe like the mini games and shit. But in this,
it's like he's not going to become like a arcade, legend or anything like that. That's something that you can do and express onto Kiryu. He's going to race pocket cars, but in canon, the main story is what he's doing and how he acts and stuff like that.
Yeah. It was funny though, because when I chose the first 2 characters I chose to be a part of my little squad was Rachel and Faye, and they made a comment about like, oh, you picked the ladies, or are you some kind of pervert? And then you get your response. That's another issue of the writing, where like the responses that you, they're yes, like one, no, sure. Damn, it's always like, yeah, damn, fuck, yes, no, sure, and I'm like, what are these? I was like, I don't know what
they're actually super complex questions. Like, do you think that also Hollow Childs have souls? And you're like, damn.
Yeah. And I'm like, what does that mean? So you're obviously choosing the answer that you think is going to please them to get their trust meter up, because they're going to be more efficient in battle. So that already takes you out of the whole like realistic interaction that they were trying to simulate. It's just funny to me.
Especially because most of the time the option is just whatever the bottom option is, which is yes most of the time. So that's what I was like, doing. Just press L2 and X and call it a day.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know, I like that aspect. I like that, something would happen. It'd be a scripted scenario, and then they would ask you about it, like, man, I don't know if I can handle this. That shit was intense, but you did so well. And, is that why they call you the survivor? And then
you give some like one no answer. Yes.
And they're just like,
And
yeah,
they're
man.
like,
Thanks, man.
it's so lame. Like, it's just like, yes. And they're like, wow.
So
okay,
profound,
so that's
bro.
awesome. Yeah, so you're so fucking. And then the cutscenes, he's so charismatic, and he has like the charm about him, you know, that very 80s character, you know, kind of like just like the one-liners and things. But I don't know. I kind of.
I like the way that the characters bounce off each other. They're very organic in the way that they bounce off each other, especially when you choose like different options for different characters. Like you said, you chose Rachel and Faye at the start. I chose Big Bo and Faye, and he's commenting about her ass. He's like, "Yo, look at her, bro. She got an ass on her." And then she's like, "Bro, can you like chill the fuck out?" Or like I chose like Rachel and Charlie for that one sewer scene, and Rachel was the one that you had to shoot all the robots off. And she was like, "Oh my god!"
Oh,
yeah.
Right,
like I kept like my first playthrough, I kept choosing Big Bo and other characters, so it was kind of just like me and Big Bo hanging out with everybody else, having a blast, and it was a fun little bounce up. But then when I started choosing other characters, you get like Charlie talking to Faye or Faye talking to Rachel, having that different I like that the replayability was there for seeing how each of these characters interact and how they all design. And I felt that by the end of this story, all of these characters did feel like they were part of like a team and were together in this. And I didn't necessarily feel like anybody was necessarily left out unless you intentionally left them out. Like, of course, Rachel doesn't really have. Yeah, she doesn't really have a situation or anything that puts her in that. But like, you have to put her in that situation. Like, so for me, I was like, yeah, Rachel kind of does have a lot of stuff that she does. But that's only because I chose her during like, you know, I think during the first police chase, and I think during the sewer when she got attacked by the bot. So it's like she was there during pivotal moments, and she was there, but it's like in the real story she wouldn't be there.
See, I chose Rachel. I was with Rachel and Faye almost the entire game, and Rachel was so quiet. Faye talked a lot, and it makes sense. She was pivotal to this. Yeah, it makes sense. She was pivotal to like the story, and I was gonna ask you, but it sounds like Faye, no matter what, was gonna be the love interest.
Yeah,
I didn't know if like that, like if there was like a narrative, you know, piece that they would just like replace, like, oh, if you hung out with Big Bo enough, then he would be like the, maybe not the romantic interest, but he would be the hollow child at the end, and that's why it was so like hard for you, because I thought that's what the trust meter was for, basically.
Whoever you trust the most will become the hollow child. That would have been really cool.
Because with the Faye thing, I feel like that was great tension for us, because, or for me, because I was choosing her and Rachel, and so she was like my ride or die as far as like, you know, being fucking out there on the field. And so when that moment came where you have to decide, there was a moment that I actually thought you were going to choose between like protecting Faye and choosing the rest of your squad, but then like Dan just decides it on his own, and it kind of, I don't know, it kind of makes me feel like maybe there was more ambition or more things that were at play, but they maybe had to scale it back, because it doesn't quite make sense why they neutered all these possible, like, they set so many seeds basically with the gameplay and all that, and I feel like they just kind of like cut them off at the end, and they funnel you into just like the, okay, no, now Faye, like what if you didn't have Faye in your party at all for like most of the game?
Then like you would just be like, okay, if she's a hollow child, I'll kill her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
I think it is interesting because like at the end when Big Bo does his big sacrifice and saves you, there's like during my second playthrough, Kane was the one that did that big sacrifice and saved me.
So okay,
yeah, but everything else played out the same, and it's weird because I think about another game that had a similar like relationship system and scenario system, Onimusha 2, because that just came out. Onimusha 2 has
Are you plugging? Fucking plugging. My game Onimusha 2 is out. Go cop it.
Go cop. No, just for those people, you know, that only played Onimusha 1 and be like, Onimusha's good. Onimusha 2, everybody says is the best game. I don't think it's personally the best game because of this relationship system of some of those sorts like this, where essentially it's the same situation. You're gifting, you're talking to these characters, you're building relationships that go on with you with missions, and eventually it comes a point where the story starts to branch out. And even when you finish the game, like how Detroit Become Human shows you at the end of each like level, it shows you like these are all the branches you did and the branches that you could have went through. It does that at the end of Onimusha 2, and then you can see like, okay, it branched off and I got with this character and it branched off and I missed this whole chunk of the game. I wish that if you were going to go this far with the relationship system and the trust system and having actual implications in the narrative of like characters dying or not towards the end, go all out and have it to where like if I didn't stay with Rachel, she would leave towards the end of the game. Or Shindo would die if I didn't have his trust meter maxed out all the way. Just make those choices, and having trust built with these characters at certain thresholds have actual implications for the story more than than the arbitrary 3 or 4 choices that it really does have.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this too with even games that make the whole choice system like a part of their whole gameplay pitch, and it's such an integral part of the game. With like Alpha Protocol, right, where those choices really do matter, and you and me had vastly different experiences because of it. Here, it does feel very just like, it feels like they were like building onto it, and yeah, I mean, like I had mentioned earlier, they decided to like cull it or just be like, all right, we're gonna have to like strip back the ambition here for this narrative for whatever reason, because we're gonna have to get the voice actors back in to do different takes, and we're gonna have to animate different scenes or whatever. And ultimately it just falls flat because that trust system, ultimately I felt playing on hard didn't do anything. I feel like even when I had like Bo and Faye like up pretty high, I didn't notice that they were performing anything different. Whenever I tried to issue commands, I feel like they didn't, perform better or actually even do what I asked. They would usually be like, I'm too busy or something, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, or you'd be like, cover me, and you're like, are you even covering me?
Yeah.
I'll talk about it during
this is
the
gameplay
gameplay.
related.
Yeah, I'll talk about it during the gameplay because I disagree with that point, but
okay.
I thought that what did you think about the writing? I thought mostly that the writing was super charming. I liked how campy it was. Same. It's like a B action movie. I love silly schlocky movies like this. Yeah, I love the slop of it all. I love a crank. I love a generic kung fu movie. I love an ensemble action movie. Tyrese Gibson will never get slander from me for what he did in Transformers. I love the parts with the military dudes in the Transformers movies. Left cheek, left cheek, left cheek. I love it.
Interesting.
And
yeah.
You get that same feeling with this where it's like you're fighting impossible odds and they're like,
yeah,
we gotta do, man. Come on. Keep riding. I love it.
Yeah, I thought the writing was good. I guess I haven't really thought too much about any plot inconsistencies or anything like that, but I did think of all the characterizations were good, and it is like a B Hollywood movie, or like a big budget Transformers flick, with all the characters playing specific roles. I really liked the scene of Dan and Faye when he patches her up in the Resistance hideout, I think it is. I thought that was cute because I wasn't expecting like a full on like love thing with I knew they were like talking like saying some wild shit to each other, but I didn't expect like an actual love like thing or like a romantic angle. I wasn't expecting, although I should have expected it with this kind of thing.
She's the hottest girl. Of course they're gonna fucking
right. Yeah, I think they made Rachel specifically ugly just to highlight how they were like, all right, let's make
a relationship with Rachel.
That must have been in part of the decision. Like, let's make her look as much as like a man as possible, just so players don't get confused that they can romance her.
Because I guarantee you, when the game first started, they just made Rachel a buff hot lady with an also generic Asian face, and they was like, wait, nah, we can't do two. Nah.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I think they definitely manipulated the I guess gamer psychology by making Faye like the pretty smart or whatever, and then kind of relegating Rachel to the side. I really liked Dan's flashbacks to him like beating up the robot. It was done in a very like I guess cinematic way, where basically it operated in the rule of thirds, where showed you a piece and they showed him like, you know, in anger smashing this robot, and then they cut back to present day, and you kind of get this idea that maybe like the robot tried to hurt him or did something and he's lashing out at the robot for anger. And then they show it again and they give you a bit more context of like, you know, how much damage he was doing or how angry he was. And then they show it one last time where they fully expand on the context of why he was attacking the robot. And it sort of changes your perspective a little bit, because basically the robot he was attacking didn't protect his mom from being beat by his deadbeat dad. That's a tongue twister right there. Which I feel like was a very interesting piece of narrative. Like that was just like a really smart and subversive way like to kind of unveil that, because it's not, the robot didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
He wanted the robot to he felt powerless as a kid. Yeah, he wanted the robot, but because of the robot's systems and, you know, protocols, it couldn't attack the man because the man probably owns it. It was just like a very complicated and very just like
so I
rich
grew up to
detail.
become a super soldier that destroys robots for a living.
I guess from that angle, it makes you think of like Dan as like really immature, or like just he hasn't grown past this trauma. He hasn't let it go. He hasn't seen the nuance in this situation, because to hate robots for the reasons that he did is almost like you're trying to cope with something else, and that's probably the feeling
But also
of feeling powerless.
But also, this is a whole strike team specifically to target hollow children. Like
Right.
most of their jobs that they've done in the past is because of hollow children, which are robots that don't even know that they're like robots. They are humanoids,
Yeah,
and they think they're human. They're like have human memories, and they're like, bro, what the fuck? We grew up together. What are you talking about? And the whole time they're robots. And so he's dealing with that. And I would understand the trauma where it's like, you're a robot. You don't even get to understand. And I guess it is a moral dilemma of like you said, because it's like, if you were a robot and you had the moral obligation to protect somebody, why didn't you protect my mom? But you can have relationships and partners and live a life and have friendships, but you can't protect and do what you can do because with your superpowered robot self. Like, I can understand, especially when you get into a field and that's all you experience is the worst of the worst. I can understand how you can. It's like somebody going getting bullied by black people in school, and then they become a police officer and they get assigned to the hood and they just become a bitch. Yeah. Like, they just bully people all day. It's the same situation.
I don't know. It's like, okay, robots can only do what they're programmed to do. This robot wasn't programmed to defend one of its owners from another owner, you know? Right. And so, I don't know. I just feel like it's not as credible, in my mind at least, for, I guess, the type of person he is. But it adds, or makes good drama, that's for sure. And I think it's my favorite part of the story, but it also doesn't go anywhere. I feel like, with the end boss fight being a human, and being in like a mech, and, him destroying the giant AI brain that Amada
Which
built.
would have been a way cooler boss battle fighting a giant AI head. But
I mean, it would have been cool to subvert, to do something a little bit more different, because you have 3 like fake out endings essentially. At least I thought so. I thought there was like 3 points where I'm like, this could have ended here. Oh, we're still going? Okay, it's gonna end here. Oh wait, we're still going? And then it ended finally. And that was when they first when they have to go up and they are destroying the satellite. Yeah. I was like, okay, this feels like an ending. Bo, the fake death, which I think is annoying and obvious, like movies have it all the time, but I was like, really, you're gonna have him fake die here
right now?
Or I don't. Was it Big Bo for you as well?
Yeah, it was Big Bo for me as well too.
Okay. Yeah, like you have to make that choice, right? Like if you stay to fight to get him, or you have to go
or
to
keep going and destroy the satellite. I did it the first time where I went back for him and saved him, and then the second time I just went and destroyed the satellite. And either way, he just pops back up like, oh, that was crazy. Anyway,
yeah,
let's keep going.
Yeah, so like no consequences at all. That's weird. Not even his trust meter doesn't even go down because I went to go.
He's like, oh, it's okay, man. Shit happens. Let's go.
So that was the first time I thought it was gonna end. Although I guess when you think about it, it can't just end there because they still need to like wrap up the whole Amada thing. But I thought it was gonna end there. I thought it was gonna be like a quick wrap up, and then you get to the room where they tell Dan that they're like, Dan, we have something to tell you, and they keep getting it like interrupted. You know, they don't. It's just like they're like drawing it out, and he's like, "What do you guys got to tell me?" You know, they're like, "Faye's a hollow child, man. She's one of them. She's a scrap."
Got shot.
Yeah, and he's like, "No, there's no way. That's
Bro, I
that's
fucked
one of
her.
our crew.
There's no way."
Yeah, I like that Rachel calls it out. She's like, something happened between you and Faye for you to feel so fucking strongly about this whole situation, you know. But
he said, "Bro, I put my penis in that. Ain't no way."
It felt real. It felt like straight real. But so there was that scene, and then I thought the second ending was gonna be in that room when you fight Faye and you confront Amada. I thought that was gonna be I was like, okay, so this is the ending. Fine, whatever. You know, like Amada was sort of like a MacGuffin, I guess, in some sense, but he just or not a MacGuffin. He was a red herring. So he was the big villain you thought you were gonna, fight, but then he just dies, and it's like, oh, okay. And then you go into the next room, and then you fucking fight all these mechs, and I was like, okay, I didn't need that last.
Yeah,
that last fight, that big bad of like, oh, it's your commander, you know, it's like
the circle of weapons and pickups and consumables, so you can just spam shoot all of it.
It felt very, very lazy considering like the game was doing pretty well in terms of like set pieces, and
I mean that
like
checks
that.
out
Like
for like this studio, because Yakuza,
okay.
most of the Yakuza games I've played also have the same situation where you're like, all right, Kiryu's, he's done it right here, and then they're like, actually, no, he's got to finish fighting the Chinese folk over there, and it's like, no, then he's got to fight, the other.
You're right, actually, you're right.
He's got to take off his shirt. That's not even the final fight. He's got to fight another guy with his shirt off. It's like 6 different like endings. Like the final chunk of Yakuza is always the same way, where you're like, all right, wrap it up.
Yeah, because they always have to resolve everything in like separate scenes, and so it feels like it's always like a scene, and like the tension of the scene rises like it would, for any like third act of a movie, and then it cuts, and then you're back at the bottom of that, like, and then it just rises again. You're like, okay, this is the ending, and then it cuts, and then it's a whole new scenario, and then it's just like, oh my god, come on, please.
Kiryu, you had 2 police chases on the highway. I need you to calm down, bro.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of police chases in this game too, so.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think it was an engaging story, and I think I enjoyed the game more because of just like how, I guess, thoughtful a lot of the writing was, or how fun, a lot of the situation was. Even though I guess I don't particularly like where it ended up, it was still like, okay,
it was still a fun ride.
So how did you really feel about the fate twist, though?
Honestly,
did you see it coming?
Low key, I did. I was like, one of these niggas is going to be a hollow child. But honestly, I thought it was going to be Dan.
Yeah, same. I thought it was going to be Dan too. And maybe that would have been more interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought Dan was the one that was going to become the hollow child. And then he would be like, what the fuck? My whole life has been thrown on a loop and stuff like that. But, I mean, Faye was a really cool subversion, especially because she got shot beforehand. So he's like, bro, what are you talking about? I saw her bleed. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. Like, I thought that was really cool. I think they subvert a lot of your expectations of a hollow child because of the fact that you do see them like beat that one guy up, and then Shindo's ally is a hollow child. You see all these instances of hollow children, and they're like, "What the fuck? No, wait, bro, no, hey, I'm a human." And then they tear their face off, and it's like, "No, you're not human, bro." And they're like, "Wait." Even the robots are like, "Wait, no." But like, we've seen Faye bleed, so it was just, I don't know. I just think it's still weird, but I just let it slide, and I don't try to think any deeper than I have to. Of like, yeah, so somebody fucked a hollow child, and
Right.
now we just have a human baby, but is it human because it's half robot? And it's like, I don't know. They're like, there's 60 of them in the world. Go get them. Okay, sure.
Yeah, I thought that whole like there's 108 of them out there, and I was like, oh, that could have maybe just been the last part of or a whole sequel or something,
right?
Because that's like an interesting like number to throw out. That there's like, let's hunt all the hollow children, basically. But it does kind of bring up a lot of questions of of artificial intelligence and robots and technology and humanity, and it really throws them all at you at the end so suddenly. When Amada's explaining his whole thing, and he's like, "Yeah, basically, I've planted my seed, and all my children are out there. That was my goal." It is. I agree with you that whole part where Amada's like, talking about like what he did, how he killed the original Amada, that was kind of cool. It was pretty interesting. I just wish like there was more of it, or like it led to a more satisfying conclusion. Yeah,
it's just there enough for me to be like, oh, that's crazy, and then continue playing the game. But like, it's not really there for me to like pontificate like any harder on like the morals of this whole situation, because I feel like honestly there's other games that do like this idea and concept better, like a Detroit Become Human. No matter what you say about David Cage, it's like you still get like the idea of like how would a society where these are super advanced robots, human like robots, want to become like humans. Like, what do you do in this situation? It feels like that's told a better story centralized around that idea. Whereas this game paints hollow children from the beginning, like even seeing like the army with the president, and he like one of his generals is a hollow child, and they just kill him on the spot. And like they paint hollow children as like these like deceptive, creepy, like robots that you need to kill. And I thought that the ending would be like I fight a hollow child on some like Albert Wesker shit, and they like are super fast and jumping around and doing crazy stuff.
Like the ninja robots. God, I fucking hate it. The Shinobi ones.
But
trash.
I think it did what it needed to do without ever. Like in an alternate universe, Binary Domain's voice commands worked, and they were allowed to make a sequel. And like you said, they met other hollow children. And maybe there was a hollow child that had a machine gun for an arm or something. I don't know. So we only know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's funny because I think, unfortunately, this game didn't sell well, and Sega wasn't impressed with its reception. I feel like this game really could have like taken off with the sequel. Like, even if it's, like a PS4 sequel or something, like it would have been really cool to see them expand on some of the ideas and polish it up a little bit, take some feedback into account, refine the trust system, flesh that out fully, and other things. But then maybe like a new cast of characters, or maybe you are a hollow children, or no, because then no, maybe not that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That's I think I don't know. That's all I have to say about the story. I think. Do you have a favorite moment in the story?
I'd say my favorite moment, and I don't know if this was the same for you, but I chose Big Bo and Charlie. I think when it was the spider, whichever one where Big Bo does that giant face where he's like, what the fuck? And like Charlie, like having Big Bo's face be like, what the fuck? And then Charlie was like equally like, hey, yo, what the hell is going on? Like it was like the funny dynamic of that. I was like, okay, this game is fun. It wants to be fun.
Yeah. Yes.
That's probably my favorite part of the game. Either that or that's it. Because my favorite part really comes down to a gameplay section more so than a story section.
Yeah. I would say that the first half of the game is the stronger half. And the second half is probably the more disappointing and generic, I guess, in some sense. But the minute, like, when you're in the slums, I think that's like when you go to that like bar and you meet with that, bartender, and he tells you where to go, and you meet with like the like that young girl, the sewer rat basically, and you go to like the underground like town, and you meet with the like Yaukza guy, and I feel like that's like the most colorful and like fun that the whole thing got. And then once you get up to like the upper city and you're like doing the police chases and you're in like the corporate buildings, I was like, I don't know about all this.
Yeah,
I would say the first half is
boss battles kind of get shitty. Enemy variety gets a little shitty.
Yeah, it gets really repetitive. Yeah, for sure. Let's move. Oh, do you have anything else to say?
Oh no.
Okay, let's move to gameplay.
Let's start with a little offshoot one. Did you know that there was a lottery system?
Would you like the store?
Yeah, so when you would use the store, after you finish using the store, it would do like the do-do-do-do-do, and then it would pop up out a reward or whatever like that. Did you know that? Because I didn't know that until like halfway through the second playthrough, and I was like, what the fuck?
Oh, wow.
I didn't even...
Yeah.
Because most times I use the store, I just ran off. I was like, all right, buy everything I need, top up on my health, top up on my ammo, and then I would sprint off to the battle.
I always imagine your gameplay as like you sprinting to do everything. Like you're just like, there's no walking. You're just like, like you're just Sonic embodied in every video game character, just fucking running around.
That's a very astute, accurate response. I have to legitimately slow myself down, or else, like, if you give me the option to sprint, I'm a sprint. All right.
Yeah. I didn't find out though until maybe like chapter 2 or 3 when I like heard the noise, and I was like, what was that? Because like if you win, it plays like a little jingle,
right?
And I was like, what was that? And I saw like the little ammo on the floor. I was like, oh, there's like a little roulette that plays after, and I didn't really understand what the difference, because there's 3 colors and it does the little like fucking pinwheel, like it rotates between 3 colors and it stops on one, red being the loser, blue and green being winners, but blue and green are both ammo. So I'm just
sometimes they drop med kits.
Oh, okay. I never got any med kits from it.
Yeah, but it's like,
maybe because I was playing on hard.
Yeah, but it's like, when I go to the store, I'm going to top up on ammo and med kits. So like,
that's actually something I was going to point out too, is that like, I'd top up on ammo and then that thing would play and I'd be like, what?
Yeah, because I just assumed that was just me. That was just it saying like, thank you for using the shop, or like, hey, like the shop's over here. I thought that's just like was like an indicator, so you could have like a audio like tell of like, hey, this is a shop somewhere. I didn't think it was like a jackpot system or anything like that until I went back to the shop and was like, what the fuck is that on the floor?
Yeah. Well, I mean, how'd you feel about it?
It was dumb because I wish that the lottery system actually gave you like good rewards, like random guns, or like if it dropped out a shotgun or like a sniper or like some grenades or something like that, I'd be like, okay, cool. Nano machines or like a free upgrade or something, I'd be like, cool. But like shit, I just went to the store and bought, because it seems like if that was the case, then I should buy one thing, exit the shop, wait for the jackpot, and then go back into the shop and continue from that. Because it's like, I'm wasting my money. Because if you're just going to give me an ammo box, why did I just spend all my money on ammo? Like, you could have just Just let me activate the shop, then give me the jackpot and see what I unlock, and then let me go shopping or something like that. So I'm not just like, but that just might be the min-maxer of me talking.
No, I feel the same, especially like for efficiency's sake. It's, you know, I didn't do what you said. Honestly, I would typically ignore it. I would see like what came out, and once I noticed that it was always ammo, I was like, okay, I guess I'm not going to pay too much attention to this. I think something they could have added to the store that could have definitely been implemented was just something to let you know if they had new inventory in stock, if they had new
even just a banner that just pops up and goes, hey, new stock.
Yeah, just like, you know, so because there's so many times like I was pretty much stocked up on everything, and I would go check and I'm like, there's nothing new here, you know, it's all like sold out, or, you know, I ended up with a lot of money, so I was able to max out Dan's stuff and close to maxing out Big Bo and Rachel's stuff. And then I bought all of the upgrades, not the upgrades, the nano machines.
Yeah, the little passives. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of like let me know so I don't have to run all the way over here and see what's going on. You know.
I feel you. Yeah, I did the same thing with that. What about because we talked about it before a little bit with the relationship system and how it changes like the actual story. But like, what did you think about the like relationship system when it came to like how it was implemented in the gameplay?
Yeah, we did talk about that a little bit, and yeah, I don't particularly think that it was fleshed out in a meaningful way. I think when you play a game on hard, it should really highlight how dependent the game is on certain mechanics. I was thinking that I was going to have to like really use like, hey, Bo, cover me, or team, like we need to rush in or stay back. Like I was thinking I was going to have to really like use those mechanics. And I used it maybe twice, and I think that's being generous. Like, and they didn't work. And so I realized, I'm like, I don't know, man. If you're building this mechanic and even on hard, I'm not forced to use it, you know, then I just don't think it's built out, or it should have been scrapped, or it just wasn't.
That's interesting that you say that, because I believe the squad commands were actually a really like key role in my playthrough, and I used it all the time. But I used it.
Wow.
The way that I used it was I would either yell charge, and then I would charge with everybody, and I would just sprint, and I would just like hip fire and just shoot at anything, and just. But that's kind of mostly how I played the game, is that I would just rush up on enemies, and I would just run up, shoot them down. So if I wasn't telling them to charge, then I would tell them to cover me or fire, and then I would charge in, kill them all, melee them, shotgun them down, and stuff like that. So those ones were the main ones that I used, but like retreat or like go, stuff like that, or for all those ones, every time I used them, I didn't really see any tangible changes or anything of the sorts like that. Yeah. But yeah, at least for me, there was a lot of times, like specifically there's this one room where like you see like a giant minigun ball robot, and then like a bunch of smaller robots, and it's like, what do you want? And Big Bo's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to shoot them from here, or do you want to charge? And I told them, shoot them from here, and then while they shot them from there, I went out from the other side and I charged through. After I like Sonic Blast like 2 times in, threw a grenade, and then I ran out, and I told them, stay here, fire, ran out, cleaned up the rest. So like it's a give or a take.
Yeah, I think those like scripted, randomized, or maybe they're scripted sections where like Charlie or someone says like, hey, I'm going to do this. What do you think about this idea? I really liked that concept, but I just felt like it didn't add much. The execution, the feedback of it.
Yeah,
like I never knew specifically like,
I was going to say, like, did you know that every person has their own, like you said with Charlie, and like every single person has their own like special ability that they can use in combat. Like when they be like, hey, I'm about to throw a decoy bomb, or hey, I'm about to throw an EMP. Yeah, they all have their own special thing. I guess when you're struggling too much in combat, they'll say like, hey, bro, you want me to throw out a decoy or something like that? Because we fucked up right now. That's usually when it would pop up for me. Like they were like, bro, you're getting fucked up. You want a decoy or
Hey,
something?
I think you want to drop it down easy.
I'll throw
We
a
can
cluster
drop it
bomb or
down.
something. Like, what you want?
Yeah, they were to be okay. So even though I played on hard, I don't want to say that I'm good at third person shooters. I think I'm pretty average, but like I was really good. And maybe because of that, the AI realized like, okay, we can't assist him very much. Maybe that would, but there were like choke points where things would get really difficulty spikes. And they still weren't helping me, you know? And then they would die and they're, you know,
Yeah.
I love their like their quotes, you know, like,
Don't worry
hey
about
Dad, you need my help? And then you say no, they're like, all right, man, just take care of yourself. Or like, you know, Faye saying
Be
this.
careful next time. Don't catch the bullets.
They say that every time. I'm like, well, I didn't need to hear that every time I die. I'm dying a lot right now, you know.
Thanks.
But-
yeah, I'm getting bombarded by fucking rocket launchers. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I was also surprised that they didn't die as much as I thought they would on hard. I was kind of like, there was only a couple boss fights where I was like, fuck, you guys can't die and I also die this much. You guys need to stay alive to come heal me. But yeah, they didn't die as much. So they were also beefier. But yeah, hard wasn't that difficult except for the second half of the game where it's like bullet sponge city. You know,
Yeah, that's all them.
Like,
That's
Jesus
all of them right
fucking
there.
Christ. It is interesting for us both to have different experiences with that system where I would like say to anybody like, yeah, that system is totally poorly implemented or broken or unnecessary because I was able to play the game without engaging with it. And I think if you're able to play a video game where a mechanic is there and you don't have to engage with it, then it probably shouldn't be there. Well, not that it shouldn't be there, but you know, it's not integral to the gameplay. You know, it's
Definitely.
not, you can, you know, and I guess I wanted it to work, but yeah, it didn't.
That's kind of the same situation with like the relationship system. I feel like I didn't max out everybody specifically because they would get in my fucking way and get shot.
Yes, that was another oversight. I'm like, they
Bro.
had to have seen this in testing, right? Like,
Yeah, like I'm actively shooting this giant minigun holding robot, and your ass is gonna walk out in front of me into my line of fire and then be like, hey,
And
watch
scold
what you're
me.
shooting. Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
watch what you're shooting. I'm not gonna listen to your commands anymore because you fucking shot me. Fucking move. How about that, bro? It taught me trigger discipline. I was like, I gotta fucking watch where I'm shooting now.
yeah, it was very, and maybe that was the intention. I do think that they could have had a system where it was like, if you shoot them a certain amount of times within a time frame, like if you shoot them twice within like, I don't know, like 2 minutes, then they would like get mad at you and be like, okay, the first time was an accident. Now you're doing it on purpose. But it was the first, like they would be hiding behind cover and I would be like behind cover and they would get to my position and then like get in my way. And I'm
You can
like,
walk
so now I
around
have to
in
go
front of
somewhere
you.
else. So now I have to go somewhere else. This is my spot. And now I have to go fucking somewhere else. That's great.
Right. I think that's why I always
I don't
flanked him. Was just like as soon as I found an SMG, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna run up. I was just like sprint, hip fire with the SMG, and just melee him to death and like put all my nano machines on like melee damage and like the evasion, so that I could just be like a flanker more than I could, just so I could avoid shooting my teammates. Because if I like sat down and put myself hunkered down, I was always constantly shooting my teammates and it would annoy the hell out of me. So I was like, I need to just change how I play in general so I don't fuck up.
Yeah. And luckily the trust meter didn't amount to much. So I don't think it was like that huge of a thing. But if the trust meter was really important and like integral to like pretty much the whole, you know, gameplay systems, then it would have been even more like, I guess unbearable, because they really do get in your way too much. And it felt like an oversight for sure. Like, this AI is not smart enough. It's moving in my direction, you know, not my direction, my line of sight, you know. So yeah, I don't know. It was ridiculous. I did find though that the shock burst was really, really useful on hard. I mean, I didn't play it on normal, but it was like I wasn't using it that much in the beginning. And then I started to like level it up all the way, and so I had more rounds to use, and it was more powerful, and it really like helped out in a pinch a lot. And it felt like it was gonna be more important in some way to me. I don't know, like it is important gameplay wise, but it feels so understated.
Yeah, it's easy, like you said, with like gameplay mechanics not really being used. Like if there wasn't like mandatory, like you have to shock burst this barricade.
Yeah.
I would not have used the shock burst. But like you said, once I started upgrading it, like once I got to like level 3 with the shock burst, then I was like, whoa, this is very powerful when it comes to like large mobs and stuff like that. But
yeah,
there's an interesting thing I noticed was
on bosses too.
On bosses too, but on the especially the last final boss, just shock burst.
Yes.
God,
yeah.
There was on the PC version, there's like I guess a digital deluxe or deal. I don't know what it is, but like there's different shock bursts. So there's like a homing shock burst that like hones in on the enemy and then does like a shock wave and like blows up. And then there's like a grenade shock burst. So like you shoot it and it just does like a giant like burst. And I thought that was interesting. And I was like, why isn't that in like the PS3 version? But I think it's like an actual like DLC, like like a free DLC that you can download or something. Same with like some of the Yaukza characters is like multiplayer characters.
Yeah. I wish there was like a survival mode. God, I just survival mode or like a horde mode, right? Like those are just so. This game was begging for that, and the fact that it didn't even have it, and I don't think it had it even in multiplayer. But
I'm gonna say I don't even know what the multiplayer modes was. I clicked on the menu and I was just kind of like, okay, like this seems like a game that should have had like a cooperative campaign.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. That was another thing about some of the mechanics of the like. Dude, I would have put money down. I thought it was co-op. Like I thought you could have played as, like okay, I'm gonna play as Faye or you're gonna play as Bo or whatever, and one of them, like a person has to play as Dan. But yeah, it turned out to not be that at all. Yeah, because I asked you, I'm like, can we play together? And you're like, oh no, it's only one. I don't want to play with you. 2, it's not that kind of game. I was like, damn.
Okay, so apparently invasion mode is technically like a horde mode of like 50 rounds.
Shit.
But like,
wait, maybe is there? I wonder if you go to multiplayer, if there's like an offline, like a local or something. Not like a split screen, but maybe you could just play alone and do your own lobby or whatever. You know what I mean?
Man, shout out to Xbox, bro. Because every time I would see go into like an Xbox game and it had, because there was always like online, and then what was it, split play? There was like always an option on Xbox 360 games of like I don't even know how the fuck you would do it, but like you can connect a console directly to a console, kind of like a LAN party.
Okay.
But like specifically like split like that, like.
Interesting. Yeah.
I only ever seen it one time when I was at a sleepover. The same sleepover where the nigga was like, you ain't wash behind your ears. We all wanted to play Call of Duty Water War. So like in Left 4 Dead. So they connected the consoles. It was 2 360s and they connected them and we did split play like that. So it was 2 people on one console and 2 people on another TV, and we would just play Call of Duty Zombies and Left 4 Dead 2 all day. I don't know.
So how does that work? So like,
I don't even know. I don't know how.
Like
I think it's like you like plug a cord into it.
Yeah, like the LAN cable, and then you're basically playing like a local network kind of game, basically.
Yeah,
I think is what it is. Yeah, local area network. But
System Link, that's what it was called. System Link.
Okay. Yeah, PS3 I don't think had anything like that.
I think that most games, that's actually a really cool system. Just straight LAN instead of having to connect online. Just connect your consoles and I guess nobody did.
Bring your console over, dude. Hey, bring your
TV and your console. Set it up in this.
Bring your whole ass CRT. Your 32-inch CRT. Bring it. This is gonna be great. Trust me. It's gonna be a blast. Trust me. So another mechanic I thought was really like ahead of its time for this game is the armor pieces being torn off of the robots, like the debris.
Yes.
It's just so satisfying. Like shooting pieces off of a robot is like the feedback of it is so good. Yes. I'm surprised more games haven't done this, or I haven't played games where I've noticed like this being more of a like a thing, you know? It feels realistic. You know, like you're shooting the first layer off, and then you can shoot off their leg or arm, and then they're just hobbling around, and it's just
I love when you shoot an arm off, and like it's the gun arm, and then you see them with the other arm be like, oh shit, I gotta pick this up.
Yeah, it's so good.
I do like that, like when you shoot the legs, they like fall over and they like attack different. I like the AI of the robots, how like when they are overwhelming you, that some of them will come around and flank and like rush you and try to melee you. Other ones will like move around differently, or like if you shoot that, like if you're shooting up this side, these ones will like start hiding behind cover. I like that they were dynamic, and adding on to that with with headshots, making them like attack enemies and stuff like that. There is a feel of crowd control where it's like, okay, I need to either shock burst this crowd or shoot that guy's head off over there so he can help me out and I can shoot them and then shoot his legs off. It's a fun system.
The combat is super addicting just because of like the game feel, like the feedback of it. Like fighting those enemies is just satisfying, and that's like just good game design because there's no gimmick really. I mean, I guess you could say the gimmick is that there's debris and particle effects coming off of them, but like that's just inherent to like the kit. Like robots, it's realistic. Yeah, like it is robots, right? You'd want them to react that way. You're not shooting, like just meat, like flesh packets, just with legs. You're shooting like these metal pieces, and like the sound effects and everything just make for a really like satisfying loop. And I'm guessing that's why you played it again, because it just feels good to play.
I just wanted to play it just
to shoot.
I just replayed it just so I can get to that first Grand Lancer fight again, because I wanted to see that at like not 2 frames a second. And then as I continued to play, I should have played. I was like, I gotta keep playing this shit. This shit is amazing. Like every time you shoot that's what I'm saying. The hit marker on shooting an enemy's head off or shooting their legs and like killing enemies and getting like a group kill, it is so satisfying to just keep going and being like, yeah, cool. Especially because they're teammates, they get like trust points if you kill a bunch,
when you're doing well.
Yeah, they're like, wow, satisfying. Man, you're save some for us, man. You're so fucking good.
Yeah, I love when they say shit like that. Damn, where'd that come from? You're amazing. It's actually like the one part of like the trust or social system, whatever, that works really well and sort of incentivizes you to like do better, because it's like your teammates are like noticing that you're fucking getting 5 headshots in a row and then taking out a whole bunch of people, or like taking out robots quickly. It seemed like that was a trigger. But yeah, it was like satisfying to hear them like praise you, and they were pretty authentic, because there were times where you could press like the command button like after a firefight.
Oh yeah, and you can like good job.
Yeah, and they'd be like, hey, don't fucking praise me unless I do something, all right? Because it comes off as inauthentic. And I was like, wow, that was
I did the same thing, and they were like, you fucking asshole, you killed everything. Fuck
yeah. I was like, oh, okay. Right, that was kind of wild, but I liked that, because then it meant that when they weren't just like, it made their praise of when I did well more like weighted, because I knew that they weren't just gonna say shit if I was doing bad. Like they actually, like if you did bad, they would actually say some shit. But I feel like the trigger for when you did bad was a lot less often than when you did good, I guess. Because there was a couple times where I was struggling, like finishing an enemy off or something, and they're like, "You need help, man? Like, you need like, what's going on? Like, you're not really on it today, are you? You know, like, I'm like, oh shit, dude, all right." But I think that's where the social system really works.
I think I have a new fetish. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's kind of a wild way to put it, but I think I have a fetish for gun upgrading.
Expand?
Like Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5, not Resident Evil 6. This game, like any game where like it's like arbitrary, like put $1,000 to increase the damage. All right, now put $3,000 to increase the accuracy.
Upgrades?
Just a little arbitrary upgrades to make the gun just do better. I feel like it's like a dopamine hit in my head where I'm like, yes, upgrade that accuracy. Like the way that the AR feels in the beginning of the game, it feels like absolute ass. Like I would rather use the assault rifle that the enemies drop than use the assault rifle that you have. Like any other gun but the assault rifle. But by the end, I'm like, get these other guns out of my fucking face. Give me this super powered assault rifle with like 100 bullets. It's amazing. And it's only because like if I wish you could upgrade the other guns that you get, like the SMGs and the shotguns and snipers and stuff like that. But once you max out that gun with Dan and you start maxing out like big bows and everybody else's guns, you can really feel the difference. And it's like, yes, like that's what I need to feel. Like it makes the combat feel a lot better than when it first started. Because at first I was like, I don't know, man. This doesn't look like Boater of the Year to me.
Yeah, they feel very weak. That's for sure. That is interesting. I was thinking about that a little bit because of Expedition 33 has like some very interesting and satisfying like upgrade systems as well. And I was thinking about like, well, what is it about like Monster Hunter, you know, that I like the gameplay loop of? But I think for me, my fetish would probably be like the loot, like getting new gear. Like that's my thing. Like I love seeing like cooler and cooler
like
gear.
Seeing the
like,
giant shiny yellow thing pop up and be like, you got an exotic.
Right. Or even just like with Monster Hunter where it's not randomized. It's like you look at the gear, you're like, okay, I need to get this monster and I need to fight him however many times to get this thing to drop so I can build this gear out. I think that's my like, that's what I like. I would say that's my like a fetish, game fetish. Or something. That's not right.
We should probably a better term for that.
Yeah, it's just like the mechanic I like, I guess, or the progression style
listen,
that I
bro,
like.
you can add that to any game, bro. Even if it's a sword, bro. If you just go like, hey, spend $1,000 and make this sword hit +5 more, I'ma love it, bro.
That's so crazy because it feels so arbitrary. Like you can't.
But see, okay, like there's a difference because when I think about games like, for example, right now, Dragon Age Veilguard or like God of War, like the Norse duology, I hate those games and having to upgrade my equipment and stuff like that. But I believe that's just because this game, there isn't any other gear. It's just I make your gun shoot better. Like Resident Evil 5 or 4 is just shoot your gun better. Shoot your gun. Is your gun better? It's not, do I make the game easier or do I change and have all these different parameters and, on dodge roll, you make a fire trail or anything stupid like that. It's just strictly the gun is better, which makes the game feel better because they can now throw bigger challenges at you. So like towards the end of the game, that's why they can throw those blue robots or the red robots or the ninja robots at you and throw 3 or 4 minigun dudes at you, is because your gun can kill a generic robot and you can they can put a whole line of robots at you, which they do on occasions, and you can mow them all down very easily once your gun's upgraded. So they have to throw those blue guys and the minigun guys and the red guys and stuff that have different strategies at you so that it makes the gameplay refreshing even towards those later levels, because they could have just thrown like 100 more robots at you and have you just have at it. And they do have certain sections like that where it's like there's one specific section in this like subway where you have to like go back to back and he's shooting robots on one side, you're shooting robots on one side. And it gets to a point where I was just shooting the robots and I was losing trust because they're like, bro, can you fucking stop? Come on, like, let's go. And I'm like, I'm still shooting robots. This shit is easy. Like, I'm just killing them all.
Yeah,
like,
I know what part you're talking about. Yeah, I think I did the same thing. I was like, oh, okay, because we weren't progressing. I was like, I guess, shit. All right.
Yeah, my fault.
But it was before. Yeah, it was before I knew that, the trust meter or whatever didn't have that much to do with the gameplay. Something that I noticed was that the design of the game over, like when you die, I feel like there was a bit of an oversight here, because if you don't have medkits and your teammates don't have medkits and the game won't like
automatically.
You'll just have to wait for everybody to die. You know, you just like standing around like, I guess I have to wait for you to fucking die because I can't do anything and the game won't. I mean, I guess you could reload checkpoint, but I felt like it was like a weird like thing to do, right? Like I don't. And there was points too where you have to bleed out, and the bleed out is so slow that I'm just like, why can I just like kill myself? Like give me like the fucking, I don't know. There's like just, I don't know.
Yeah, I do agree with that, especially with like certain sections where they like love to just shoot 1,000 rockets at you. And your character will ragdoll, and then you'll get caught in a stun lock because you'll get hit with another rocket as you're getting stun locked. And it's like, I can't even get up by the time that the next rocket's hitting me. And then you fall, and then you revive yourself. And it's like, it's certain times where the game can be really frustrating, especially because of like calling a teammate over to be like, hey, can you heal me? And then they're taking their time. They're still shooting stuff. Then you're like, bro, please come and heal me right now. And they will not come. So it leads to you just being like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna just revive myself. And it's like, either way, it's not fun to die.
Yeah, one of the memorable instances and a good example of what you're talking about is the helicopter with the 4 engines.
Yeah, that's the exact boss I was talking about.
I'm just like, this is so ridiculous. Like, I'm trying to climb up the stairs. I'm like, what the fuck do I need to do? I didn't actually know. I don't think I destroyed all the engines because I didn't get the achievement for destroying all the engines. So I'm like, I don't even know how we finish this thing off.
Yeah, and like, every time you try to use the rocket, then the little anti-air things will swoop up in your face and like stop you. So you got to stop shooting the rocket and like destroy those.
Switch them again. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I was like, "Fuck this, man." No, I was still having fun, but it was like a lot of stun locking, a lot of seeing my screen be red for a while I run around trying to dodge shit. Yeah, it was a bit rough. That was not a good. I feel like the boss fights are where this game sort of falls apart because it maybe just needed a different type of boss fight or something. I don't know.
Each boss fight feels like you're just shooting empty clips into something and praying that it just magically decides to stop shooting back.
The Grand Lancer was the only one that was somewhat of inventive because you had to go to like the second story of like that smaller building and jump on top of it and then shoot it. But all the other ones, it's like, oh, just shoot this component off and then it'll explode. I think the one I hated the most was for sure when you're in Upper City, Tokyo or whatever. And you're fighting the like the robot that's like on roller skates or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
You're in the van, chase. Basically.
Yeah, and it's shooting the rockets. It's like, I got to shoot the rockets first, then I got to shoot him.
Yeah.
And then I only have very certain like close windows that like actually shoot like the part that I need to shoot. Like, it was super dumb. The gorilla, I thought the gorilla was fucking dumb. I hated the gorilla.
Oh, really? I feel like the gorilla was it was annoying because there's like 3 different sequences where you fight it, but I didn't have too much of a hard time with it.
More so,
was there a specific part?
More so, it was just because like if you got caught with that little like wind up thing that he did, it was like a stun lock because he would hit that and then he'll do the ground pound and it's like, bro.
Oh, then you'd be dead. Yeah.
It's like,
that's it.
I'm stuck.
Yeah. Luckily, I feel like the evade window, or at least I think I had like the nano machine that gave you like a bigger evade window or something like that.
Yeah. Most of the bosses were actually cool. I think most of them were. Yeah, most of them.
Not on hard. Not on hard. None of them worked on hard. They were just all bullet sponges, and it became very noticeable for sure. But I'm sure on normal, it's like, okay, this is fine. It's a shorter,
they were
briefer experience
on normal. Most of my strategy for bosses was shock burst, unload the clip, burst, unload the clip, and it was multiple times during bosses where I had to be like, well, damn, I need to go get some ammo, or even like running to the shop in the boss fight to go buy some ammo mid-fight and continue because it's like, damn, I used both ammo reserves that was here. I have nothing, bro. I need to kill this boss.
Something I noticed too was the shock burst ammo was like this like red and blue little thing, and they were, I don't know what it was about them, but they just felt so like they felt so like non-existent. Like they just felt so tiny, and like there was no like sound. I mean, there's a small sound effect when you picked them up, but like I had trouble like knowing when I picked one up and when like my thing was filling. Like I feel like it needed to be louder, or there needed to be like a sound after it filled up completely.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. There was it felt a little lacking for me.
Yeah, because most of the time at first I thought it was ammo. Like I was like, oh, I'm picking up ammo clips or something like that.
Oh, so yeah, you didn't pick. Okay.
Yeah, so then I started picking them up and I was like, oh, that's why. But also, most of the time in the beginning of the game, I never used the shock burst because there wasn't really a real reason to use the shock burst. So until like mid game, I didn't really realize like, oh, that's what that's for. So shout out this game for teaching me about hip firing. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Dude,
like
I love hip firing, man.
When you talk to me about how you I only hip fire in the division, I was like, you're fucking weird.
I didn't say first off, I didn't say I only hip fire. I just say I hip fire a lot, but because I think we forget that for a long time shooting games did not have the aim button. There was no like aiming down the sights. Like that's somewhat new. Like I mean 10, 15 years, but like for a while there was games where you didn't aim. It was just like hip firing. It was just firing. Right. That's not why I do it. I do it because a lot of the times the enemy's too close and I can trust that my weapon will still take them out without me like losing too much of my peripheral vision if I zoom in on this person.
Nah, they can be right in my face and I'll be like,
yeah, I need to aim at you.
No, so like this game taught me that because I would do that and then I'll be getting my ass beat and I'll be like, oh man. But then I realized like, oh, if I just hip fire, I can just crush everything. Like long as they're in my general vicinity, like in this box, I have faith that it's going to hit whatever it needs. Same with blind firing, because most of the time of games, if you hip fire or blind fire, I'm just so used to games where I do that and it's like you blind fire and it's like inaccurate and it's going in every other direction but the direction you're aiming at, or you aim down sight. If you don't aim down sights and you shoot, it's just going to do like I hate the spread of hip firing so much that it's like I'd much rather just like point blank and lock on somebody than like actually do.
Definitely depends on like the weapon. Like I wouldn't. Yeah, like assault rifle, like it just depends on like the distance. Typically, I will hip fire with a shotgun if I'm close up. I won't need to aim that because it's a shotgun. And then, like SMGs, assault rifle, like it just depends on what I have on me and how far the enemy is. But hip firing feels good to me because it feels like so like next level pro. Like I don't even have to aim. I got you. Yeah, like you're done.
Yeah, that is how I felt towards the end, like where I was like, I'm sprinting down with like the minigun and I'm just like walking down like hip firing and shit. I was like, okay, I get it now. Like I understand, and it's gonna probably make me replay or even play some newer games with like hip firing and being like, wow, my life has been changed.
I've been playing shooters wrong.
Dark Sector is actually a great game. I was just not fucking hip firing.
Yeah, it helps. It definitely helps. Especially like especially on the PS3 because the aiming kind of doesn't feel that like that's responsive and accurate. So it works a little bit better. That's all I have to. I mean, I think I'll bounce off of anything that you have to say because I see you have some stuff. Unless you talk about everything.
Yeah, we've mostly talked about most of. Well, we kind of roundabout of a way talked about it during the story and presentation sections of most of the stuff I have to say about the gameplay, but it's just a solid shooter. It's a solid shooter. Like from front to back, it's very satisfying to just every gun feels good. Every bullet feels good.
This is like the type of game that I feel like people talk about when they're like, we just don't get those like 8 to 12 hour games, tight story, tight gameplay, no fucking deal, no like microtransactions, no like it's just straight like Evil West. I didn't play Evil West, but I understood that it's somewhat like in the vein of like old PS3 games where it's just like, here's a campaign, play through it, great gameplay, maybe compelling story, maybe not, but very Gears of War-esque, I guess.
Yeah, or like Space Marine. Space Marine 2 is it is a sequel to a PS3 Xbox 360 game, but it is an Xbox 360 PS3 ass game. Like, your melee systems, your hip firing, your aiming down. Sometimes you just need some schlocky, simple. It doesn't need to do anything crazy. It tried to do something crazy with the voice command system, and unfortunately, we never got to experience it. So I can't really talk about the system or say it. And I guess most people haven't really experienced the voice command system. So I mean, if it works for you.
Yeah, and it's just not. It's kind of like a superficial. Like it's like a superficial thing that adds a little bit of immersion, but ultimately doesn't like take away from the game because it's like not integral to it. You know, I feel like it was something that would have just been like it was like a what do you call it? Like it's a nice to have.
It's like it's like Splinter Cell. What was that? Splinter Cell Blacklist on 360, where you could use the Kinect to like whistle to like lure guards. It's like or I could just press the fucking button.
Right. Exactly like that. Or it's just like, a basic, like a little cherry on top, basically.
Right.
Like, oh, what if players can do this, you know, but don't make it necessary because then the game will suck, you know, and I'm pretty sure maybe they knew that getting this game out of is my camera not focusing?
Yeah, it's not focusing, but it's okay.
Yeah, maybe they knew that like going in. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, no, it's a very, very solid shooter. I'm glad that I like replayed it because there's games I think about every once in a while. It's just part of the reason why we have this podcast, because it's just like remember that one game, I want to go back and play it, and we do, and I'm glad that it held up, and I'm glad that it was probably better than I remember because I feel like I just didn't give it too much attention back when it released by just playing it, and then that's when you would like actually buy a game, play it, and then 2 weeks just trade it in to get fucking
be like
whatever else.
This is one of those games that you was finessing when you was using the GameStop rental service.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. They're like, oh, they'd always ask you questions like, oh, this just came out. Did you like it? Yeah, it was good. I always felt interrogated when they asked me that. Like, I always felt like they were gonna be like, we know what you're fucking doing. Like, why you just bought this? Here at this GameStop.
I used to always lie and be like, yeah, man, the multiplayer wasn't really like that. And they're like, you were playing Kingdom of Fire, Circle of Doom. And it's like,
yeah. I don't know why. Like the nervousness of them asking always just kind of felt, I don't know. I just thought they were going to ask like, why are you you can't return this. You shouldn't.
Right, why are you doing this right now, bro?
Yeah, we know what you're doing. You just bought this. Like, no. And let me guess, you're gonna put this credit towards the new game. No,
you're gonna put this credit towards another game for $55, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let me talk to my manager as they're like, closing up the case or whatever. I don't know why I always expected that.
Do you want to buy the disc protection plan for $4? What about the GameStop credit card? No. Do you have a GameStop Power Rewards card?
Yeah, all the questions.
Are you subscribed to Game Informer?
Questions.
And you're any games you want to pre-order? You know that new Madden's coming out, man.
They would always get you with the pre-orders. We got this coming out. I'm like, do I look like I fucking play whatever you just suggested to me?
It's always a fucking Nintendo game. They're always like, yeah, that new Princess Peach. Like the last time I went, I think I pre-ordered I think Princess Peach is coming out. I forgot what I pre-ordered, and they were like, "Do you want to like pre-order Princess Peach too? That comes out around the same day." And I was like, "Why the fuck would I play Princess Peach if I pre-ordered this game?" I want you to look at what I just pre-ordered and think, "Yeah, I would have."
They're like, "Well, you look like you'd play it. You look a little fruity, I guess. I don't know."
That was Dynasty Wars. That's what it was. Because they was like, do you want to pre-order Donkey Kong? And then when I went to go pick it up, they were like, yeah, we ain't got a copy. Like the shipment didn't come. Sorry, we ain't got no Dynasty Warriors. We ain't got no Donkey Kong. We ain't got no Mario. I was like, I only want to play the one game, bro. What the fuck? I don't give a fuck about no Donkey Kong returns. Who cares?
Okay. Well, would you recommend Binary Domain?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Collection?
I honestly genuinely thought that there was a PlayStation 4 version for some reason, but there is not a PlayStation 4 version.
No.
There is only these two versions on PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, PC. If you can get it on PC, I would definitely recommend that you get it there over 360, PS3. But it's a solid game. It's a solid game. It's one of those games, man. It's one of those games that people, they're going to sleep on this game. It's going to be a game that's going to be forever slept on. And it's unfortunately because of the pedigree of the studio that's only going to get higher and higher, especially as they make whatever the fuck Yakuza crazy, super realistic graphic looking ass games that they decide to make in the future. It's just going to keep getting lost in the sauce. Like, did you know that these niggas be making Monkey Ball, bro?
Really? The same?
They make Super Monkey Ball and Yakuza.
Oh.
That's their thing, bro. Super Monkey Ball, Yakuza, and Binary Domain.
I think...
And the new version.
I really think that they could have done another Binary Domain. I really do think that there should be another one.
Yeah, especially when they were making Yakuza. Yakuza was not 5 back then. This was not. Yakuza was not
exactly
the crazy series that it is now. This was in Yakuza was ass. So like, they could have made Binary Domain too. I mean, they fucking made Yakuza Dead Souls.
Maybe that was maybe that. It is sort of like, I mean, like Yakuza is kind of blowing up in the like last 5-6 years, and I feel like. Yeah, I feel like Binary Domain could have been like part of their, their 3-prong catalog of like IP. So they could have had Super Monkey Ball, Yakuza, and then Binary Domain because they're so different, I don't know. I just think that Binary Domain should come back. I think it's a must-have in your collection.
Or something of the sorts. Remaster at least.
Just
something.
Yeah. Or, maybe they do like a remake or whatever and then flesh it out more.
Binary Domain Kiwami.
Yeah. Binary Domain 0. But yeah, that's the episode. That's all we got. Go pick up a Binary Domain on Xbox 360, PS3, or PC.
And make sure,
Game Boy Color.
Make sure you cop the next game, X-Men Destiny. Come play it with us.
Oh, I have it on.
Don't say you
PS3.
have it on Wii. Okay, cool.
No, dude, I have it on Game Boy Color.
I actually have the Wii version. I've had the Wii version the whole time, and that's why I was so afraid. I was like, I have to get a 360 for this game because the Wii version, I don't even know how that made it out of quality assurance. It is like it's the same as this game, but instead of having cutscenes, it has like comic book concept art cutscenes.
Oh,
and then also it's like it's obviously the 360 version, but like they put it on like graphic settings like low on everything, low, no anti-aliasing, low, like it's, and it still runs at like 10 frames a second. It's like, like it's a gross game. It's a really gross game.
Yeah. Damn, that's crazy. Yeah, I'm kind of regretting getting it on PS3, but.
And it's probably the same thing.
99 Nights is on Xbox 360, so I can. Yeah. But all right, guys, thanks for watching another episode. Yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Welcome to Back of the Rack, a gaming video cast about games long neglected and not respected, games that everyone's heard of or hated, or no one's heard of and loved. We play the games in between the essentials and the unwanted, but mostly we play what we want on this podcast. Join our Discord where you can talk with us and others about Back of the Rack games, and make sure to like and comment on our videos and leave good reviews on the podcast feeds. Your feedback and engagement is the fuel that keeps us going. We hope everyone watching and listening is doing great, and we thank you for joining us today on another episode.